Hey, it's Megan. Grab your coffee and let's have a combo. I think one of the most common questions that I get and that people are always asking is, what is the perfect diet for perimenopause? And it's a trick question because there is no such thing. So I think you have to think about where your information is coming from, who is talking about it, and what their goals are and what they're looking at in terms of studies and where they're working in the space. So I'm working with women who are going through perimenopause. They don't feel great. No one comes to me saying, Megan, I feel like 100% and I just want to optimize. That's not where we're living. We're living in a space where I'm tired, I'm fatigued. My brain is so foggy, I can't even get up in the morning and function. I need 12 cups of coffee. I am sluggish. I am anxiety ridden. I don't sleep well. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. All of these things are part of the picture of how I'm looking at what is a perfect diet. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what the studies say. It doesn't matter what my other clients say. It doesn't matter what happens in my body. What matters is what happens in your body. Does your body feel good? Does your body operate the way that you want it to? Are you able to reach your goals? So when I think about this, when I came out of school, I like to call this my nutritionist gone wild phase. So you go to school and you're very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and very idealistic about all of the things. And so I tried all of the diets. I was absolutely convinced when I came out of school that paleo was the way to go. And then I did a vegetarian. I did keto. I did low carb. I did high fat, no sugar, you name it. I did it. And at the end of the day, I made this big full circle, took out all the things and put them back in, and I came back to where I am now. And that's what works for my body. And I feel that I am much more flexible around what people want to eat and what people feel makes them feel the best. And I think that we have to keep that in the context of your body and what's working for you. So if you feel magical and nothing is wrong, then please stop listening to this right now because this is not for you. But if you're having challenges in perimenopause and trying to figure out the best way to fuel yourself, to feel good, to feel energized, then there might be some self experimentation. There might be a need to reach out to a practitioner in the functional space to get some assistance with this. So when we think about what's biologically happening in perimenopause, you do have to remember that there are changes that are happening. So with our hormones going down, generally speaking, your estrogen, your progesterone, testosterone, insulin, and melatonin, those are all changing during that perimenopausal phase. And so some of that can happen earlier, some of that happens later, but depending on when that happens in your life, that is going to drive whether you are more insulin resistant. And so there is this fabulous study called the SWAN study. It's been going on since 1994. Thank you, Congress, for putting women in research. Woo! So one of the great things about SWAN is that it's tracking women over decades, right? So they started in 94. They're still going. And the big thing about this is they're looking at women going through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and they're not tracking women that are using HRT. So I am pro HRT. I think it's wonderful for people that need it. However, from a research perspective, this gives us a look at what people who are not taking HRT look like. So we can kind of suss out, is it the HRT or is it biologically what's happening in their body? So we know that independent of age, so it doesn't matter how old you are, and aging is not the thing that is triggering this, when your hormones start to go down, you become more insulin resistant. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you go to the doctor and they say, hey, you're pre-diabetic because your hemoglobin A1C is 5.7. Or your triglycerides start inching up and your doctor is talking about bringing your lipids down. They might be talking to you about putting a statin in your daily regimen. They might be talking about you changing your diet and exercise routine. So these are things that can give us a little bit more insight into what is happening. And so my goal is for you to live a long life, but also to feel good. So what can we do to make you feel good when your lab work is starting to tiptoe into the range of needing medications? And that's not to say that, everyone can get away with not having medication. That's not to say that medication is bad. It's just to say that we have some other levers that we can pull as you're going into this phase that can be supportive. So one of the tools that I use a lot is CGM. I think there's a lot of back and forth about whether CGMs are useful and whether they actually inspire change and what that looks like. But I think that one of the most useful tools for me when I'm working with my clients is for them to see how things react in real time data. So when I put a CGM on myself, I know that rice shoots my glucose like through the roof. I am like high as kite, and then it crashes down, and then I feel like garbage, like I need a nap garbage. It is not good for me. I do not eat rice. And I knew that before I put the CGM on, but it was really interesting to see that data. And so then I think, okay, well, everyone must react this way to rice. No, not the case. I've had clients who eat rice, they don't react to it. They have like a mild little bump, they come back down and things are great. But it depends on who is having it and their all, their entire health, their microbiome, all of the factors that are making up their way to process that food. Some people are really reactive to say oats or oat products. Some people are really reactive to sweet potatoes. Some people it's processed carbs. So I think that we have these generalized ideas of what is a good carb versus a bad carb. And I think that that is really unhelpful to label things as good or bad. I think that thinking about what is working in your body is a far better way to think about this. So when I was 20, I could eat a croissant and feel fine. If I had a croissant now, one, the gluten would be a problem, but two, I think that would send my blood sugar right through the roof and then I would crash. If I had a croissant and, coffee, that might make it worse. But for some people, that is a completely acceptable breakfast for them and it works in their body. And I think that the CGM gives you a tool to look at that in real time and you can say, okay, great. You know what? I really love having oatmeal for breakfast, but I'm hungry an hour later. I wonder if that oatmeal is giving me, a blood sugar spike and crash, and that's why I'm feeling so tired. Perhaps it's not that it's giving me a blood sugar crash. Perhaps it's that I'm just not eating enough. Maybe I need more food, more oatmeal. Maybe I need a source of protein with that. So there's a lot of things that we can do to layer in that doesn't necessarily mean pulling out and taking away. I think that a lot of people are very worried that if they come and work with me that I'm going to say, you can't have anything that you like. That's not the point. The point is to figure out how to support your body so that you feel good and keep the foods that we like. And that might mean that we're changing the order in which we eat foods. It might mean pairing things. It might mean that sometimes this is a sometimes food and sometimes this is an all the time food. We don't know, but I think that working with a practitioner and finding this out can be really, really helpful. But I think that tuning into your own body is the first step. How do you feel when your body gives you feedback every day? What are you doing with that feedback? If my body says, you know what, I need a nap, am I taking a nap? Am I thinking about why I'm tired to need the nap? Did I not sleep last night? Did I work out this morning? Did I eat? Maybe I didn't eat enough. What did my breakfast look like? What did my lunch look like? Did I just have an entire bowl of chips and that's why I'm feeling tired and need a nap now? All of these things are little signs that you can start paying attention to and collecting data. And I think that sometimes that sounds overwhelming, but just keeping a little journal and saying, okay, right now I feel tired and, this is what I did for the hour previous. Just a little note in your phone. You could use an app for this. You can take, if you have a handwritten journal, more power to you. I think that's also very fun and exciting. And we tend to remember things that we write down better than with things that we type. But going through and doing a little bit of a diagnostic on yourself. Where do I stand when I wake up in the morning? When you think about the rest of your life, today is the best you're going to feel for the rest of your life outside of being sick, unless you're doing something to actively change that. So, do I want to feel this way for the rest of my life? If the answer is no, then we have to figure out what it is that is causing you to not feel great and how can we support you? How can we address you? What is your body telling you about that? Are you sleeping well? Does your skin beautiful and clear and magical, or are you having breakouts? Are you having problems with that? How are your cycles? How is your exercise tolerance? Are you exercising? Are you walking? Do you feel good doing those things? Does your body feel good moving? Do you feel stiff and achy? Do you not want to get up in the morning? Does your dog want you to go for a walk and you're like, not so much? Are you spending time with people? Do you want to spend time with people? Are you having connection and conversations and things that are stimulating your brain and keeping you excited and going in the world? All of this really makes a difference. I think that one of the other things to think about is that all of these different diet wars, as I like to call them, high protein, protein, high fat, high carb, low carb, they're all really irrelevant unless they work for you. And so I could tell you 16 different ways from Tuesday why the paleo diet is so great for me or so great for this client that I worked with. But you may not feel good eating that way. And I think that's okay. I think that you can say, you know what, I tried this thing, it doesn't feel good, and I'm just going to leave it. And that's part of life. As we get older, stop worrying about what other people think and worry about what we think ourselves and how we feel in our bodies. So if you don't feel good eating paleo, stop eating paleo. If low carb is burning you out, stop eating low carb. I think that I used to be very afraid of carbohydrates, and a lot of people are still afraid of carbohydrates, just like in the 90s and early 2000s, everyone was afraid of fat. And I think that there are some truths to why some of those things might be problematic within certain contexts. But I think that overall, demonizing any giant food group is going to be problematic. And it's just exhausting to keep up with all of the conversation and all the things we should or shouldn't be eating and what is good and what is bad. And how do we even define good or bad? It's like we're trying to give moral imperatives to the foods that we're putting in our mouths, and that can get exhausting in itself. So, I think that I want you to think about how does your body feel at at a base level? And then am I just getting by? Am I optimal? Am I thriving? And do I want those things? If you don't want to be optimal and thriving, then leave it alone. Don't put any energy towards this because that's not a focus for you right now. But if you do, then taking time to figure these things out might be worth it. And working with someone might be a way to do that. I think that some of the overwhelm comes from sifting through all the information and trying to figure out what the signal is for you personally, as opposed to what is the signal for TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're getting all of your information. So, thinking about what do I want? What are my goals? And my goal personally is for me to have energy and to feel good so I can move my body, I can see the people I love, I can do my work, and I have energy to give my clients because I want them ultimately to feel the same way. I want them to feel good. I want them to have energy. I want them to be able to show up in the world and share their incredible gifts and not be hindered by their health. So if I can get up and do that every day, then I am winning for myself. But that may not be what your goal is right now. Sometimes we have different goals for different parts of our lives, and it's fine for that to change. You know, what you were desiring to do in your 20s is not what you want for your 30s or your 40s, 50s, and beyond. And so thinking about what your actual goals are and how you want that to feel and look. And so think about your metabolism, think about your digestion, think about your mental health and your emotional health. And if all of those pieces are falling into place for you, great. If not, let's dig deeper. Where can we pull on some of those threads and say, you know what? I'm not sleeping great. I'm having some anxiety. And in the morning, I'm having like higher anxiety than in the afternoon. Okay, so let's look at what's our morning routine. Are we inside? Are we getting sunlight? Are we having coffee on an empty stomach? Are we having food or food at all? Um, those questions can give us a lot of information into what our perfect diet is for us because you are the only person that matters when we're thinking about this because it's your body. You have to live in it and you have to decide if the way that you feel is worth it. So, to get around all of this confusion and the overwhelm, you're not alone. The world is full of lots of opinions. And I think the most important opinion is yours. How do you feel today, right now, in this moment? Do you feel good? Great. Not a problem. But if you don't feel good, what can we do to make you feel better? And to be honest, food may not be the first spot. But if you clicked on this video or you're listening to this, something tells me that food is part of the picture. If you're bothering to listen through to, to this point, that is something that you're curious about. So, looking at your labs or having someone that's a functional practitioner in the space like myself look at your labs and they can go over that with you and they can say, hey, you know, this is what I'm seeing. These are the patterns that I'm seeing. And we can suss out what is showing up on your lab work. And then we can pair that with the symptoms and how your body is feeling. And then we can figure out a way to move forward that fits in your lifestyle. It's not like you have to get up and start tomorrow making all of your own food and getting all of your zone 2 and your zone 5 and all of your weight training in. And you also have to have your meditation and your calm app and everything else. That's overwhelming and exhausting. And that's not, I think, the best way to address these things. One step at a time, but having a starting place and someone that can guide you through that to give you a framework of how you're thinking about what is going on in your body and how to address it. And that is one of the benefits of working with a practitioner. I personally have a lab review, and that's a really great place to start. So if you're curious about all these things, you feel a little overwhelmed, you're having some of the symptomology, brain fog, anxiety, exhaustion, maybe some resistance to exercise, maybe you're just not digesting the way that you used to, thinking about all of those things and thinking that you might need a starting point, a lab review is a really great place to go because then you can get on a call with me. I'm going to go over all your labs with you, explain to you one by one what they mean, what they're saying, and the patterns I see, and how we can start using that information to inform us about what would be best for you and places that we might be able to start tweaking, might make some habit adjustments, things that we might be able to start doing so that you get up feeling better and feeling energized so you can share with the world everything that you want to share and not be hindered by the way that you feel. Can you do me a favor? If this was helpful, share it with one person who might need to hear it today. Our bodies didn't come with a user manual, and this perimenopause thing can feel confusing and lonely. But you're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not broken. And maybe someone in your life needs that reminder too. Let's spread the word and be kind to each other and ourselves. Now, the legal bit. I'm a nutritionist, but I'm not your nutritionist. This podcast is for information and education only. No client relationship was formed. Always seek medical advice when necessary. I'll see you next Wednesday morning.